In a world where creepypastas are deleted before you can say Jeff the Killer, only one man can save them from a fate worse than death. Behold, Umbi's World presents Deleted Creepypasta Theater.
I have lived in this house, the house of broken rules, for nearly 20 years now. I was 20 years old when I figured out this house of broken rules. I was a rebellious youngster. I did drugs, and I got into fights, and a friend of mine at the time told me about the house of broken rules. He told me in this house I needed to always break the rules, and so instead of fixing things, I broke things, and I didn't clean anything that was dirty. In return, the house of broken rules will always provide me with the necessaries, like hot water and food. This house seemed like heaven for someone like me, and I was in. My friend, though, didn't want to join me, and I thought he was being a coward. I left home without any care for my mother and father. Actually, I am sure they were glad to see me leave, and so they could live in peace. I remember the first night in the house of broken rules. I broke every object and drank till I was so drunk I was not in this reality. I always weirdly had everything I needed, like food, clothes, and clean hot water, as well as electricity. For nearly 20 years, I have done nothing but broken the rules in this house. There was a list of things to do in this house as soon as you got in. The list was nailed in the front door of the house. It had things like keeping things clean and mending broken objects, and other rules which I had broken. My friend told me where this house was, and I hugged him as he drove me to this house when I was 20 years old, and I never saw him ever since. Breaking the rules for nearly 20 years became second instinct, and it started to become boring. I also wondered whenever I destroyed something or didn't mend something, it would go somewhere. Like right now, this house of broken rules should be one house just full of broken junk, but the junk always disappears. It's like it cleans itself. Now, turning nearly 40, something has happened to me, and I don't feel like breaking things. I want to fix things now, and clean. It's like, after 20 years of being a messy slob, I have become bored of it. I want to change now. So then, I started to clean and fix whatever I could grab my hands on. For 1 month, I cleaned and I mended what I could. Then, I remember falling asleep on the couch. It was a good quick nap. As I awoke, a man in a white suit sitting in a chair opposite me eating an apple spoke to me saying, "I am eating you right now." I got up and looked at him weird, and I hadn't met other humans for nearly 20 years now, as one of the rules of the house was to be social, which I broke. This man in a white suit kept telling me that he was a cannibal, and that he was eating me right here, right now. That was impossible, and I found this confusing as it was obvious, as I wasn't being eaten by him right there and then, because we were talking to one another and his teeth were nowhere near my flesh. He kept reassuring that he was eating me even though it looked and felt like I wasn't being eaten by him. Then he told me to break something. I broke a plate, and all of a sudden I was on the floor and both my feet were being eaten by him. His mouth full of blood, and his teeth as sharp as anything. I was on the floor now, both my feet cut off from my body. Then I started to crawl on the floor, and the man in the white suit chewing on one of my foot, which was in his hands. I managed to grab sticky tape from the table, and I mended the plate by sellotaping it together. Them 10 minutes went by, and all of a sudden I was back standing opposite the white man in a suit. He said to me, "I am still eating you at this very present time and moment, even though it looks and feels like I am not." He was a different kind of cannibal. his prey will feel like they are not being eaten alive, but that they are socializing and are alive. The House of Broken Rules is punishing me for following the rules and not breaking them. The man in the white suit said that for me. My life is over, and that he has nearly eaten my whole 2 legs. Even though at that very moment and time he had told me that, I am standing on my own 2 legs and I don't feel like I am being eaten alive. He took me outside and I watched him prepare a barbecue for me. We had burger meat in the fridge. He started making me burgers, and it was sunny outside.
Praise the sun!
As I started eating the burgers, he could taste it as well in his mouth, even though he wasn't eating burgers. You could see, as he was eating me, he could taste that burger meat that I was eating. I just could feel or see him eating me. He kept reminding me that he is actually eating me. Only when I break something will the true reality of my situation could be felt, and the raw pain of being eaten alive running through my body. Then me and him both walked to the beach, and he told me that he was still eating my legs. He himself... What the fuck? Oh god. He himself... He... Oh god. He himself breaks the rules of the house as well in another place. There are many hidden houses around the world where the rules are to be broken or punishment will happen. There was no way out, and I could feel
Blood!
in my mouth, and I looked at him. I told him to break something in the house. He looked at me with a weird look. He broke something in the house, and then in a sudden change, the true reality was that we were both eating each other. He mended the plate he broke with sellotape, the same one I used. He then honestly told me that he stopped breaking the rules as well. We were both in the same boat. We both shook hands and have accepted our fates, that we are both eating each other. The house is punishing both of us. We're not sure how or why we can't stop eating each other, but karma comes round to everyone, I guess. Then I went back into the house. I started breaking everything. I was back in reality. Both my legs nearly eaten and blood everywhere. I didn't care, but I still grabbed what I could and broke whatever I could grab. The man in the white suit, his legs were eaten by me and his teeth still in my meat. I then broke a vase. With the sharp edge of the broken piece, I stabbed him in the head. I murdered the man in the white suit. I was bleeding like crazy and blood everywhere. Then everything went black. When I awoke, I had 2 legs back, and the house cleaned itself. The man in the white suit, half his legs missing, and he is dead. I had won and proven myself to the House of Broken Rules. As a prize, the House of Broken Rules gave back my legs. I am going to keep on breaking the rules. Blood.